The word femicide came about scrutinization between Inter-American Court of Human Rights and Femicide Watch initiative by UN, while they were scrutinizing about the case of Cottonfield. Cottonfield was a case of femicide that happened in Mexico. It was all about 3 Mexican women who went missing after work, and after a while their body were found in the cotton field with evidence of physical abuse, sexual abuse, mutilation, torture, and psychological abuse.
For a long time, the society has viewed sexual and gender-based violence from the lenses of who bears the greatest responsibility. And we know that most victims of gender-based violence and even femicide are women and girls.
These cases, when you look at the cases that have been going on, we are having legislation and legal frameworks in this country that their implementation is really also worrying around some of these things. When you look at the Constitution of Kenya, and especially Article 10 on national values and principles of governance, values and principles of governance, one of the things that you find that the Constitution guarantees is the dignity, human dignity. So that simply means that everybody has got a dignity that must be protected by the governance or by the leadership of the country.
People who victim blame others believe that the survivor had control over the situation and could have prevented it by being more careful with how they reacted to the situation or even how they handled it.
And there's this form of gender-based violence that women tend not to report, harassment, sexual harassment that mostly happen in workplaces, at matatu, when we are traveling, at home. Since there is no evidence to confirm that you were harassed, women took it lightly and not report this case, which as a result at some point escalates to other forms of GBV and at some point femicide.
Apart from the implementation part of it is the prosecution, investigation and prosecution part of it. Because we have actually seen the Sexual Offences Act, which then invites everybody into investigation and the prosecution of these cases. Can we see prosecution of some of these cases? I know recently we have actually seen the issue, the case of Jackie Maribe and Joey, but we've also seen postponement of the judgment of sentencing that has actually happened over and over again.
We are seeing increased incidences of femicide, and we have observed that uptake of mental health services is very low. This is among the survivors of violence and even the general community.
As we commemorate this period where we commemorate victims of femicide, we are calling upon government to ensure that there is access to justice to the victims and families of those who have experienced femicide in Kenya. And we're also calling upon men not to suffer in silence to an extent of committing femicide against our women.
So it is important that we teach our young ones, the youths in schools, on how to manage conflict, how to resolve issues that arise among them as they interact with their peers, so that they can avoid having this closed mindset where they use violence to solve their issues.
Successful prosecution of such cases needs forensic investigation, proper investigations to be done for the prosecution to begin. And there's always a gap between the prosecution and the investigation, and we are calling to action. The police, the National Police Service, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to work together to expedite these cases for the victims to get justice.
As much as we are having so many actions to prevent or even mitigate gender-based violence and the extremes of it, like the femicide, I am advocating that we consider prioritization of mental health services.